everyone, so today I'm going to be doing a fun tag that has been going around. This is the eyeshadow wardrobe tag, and it was originally started, I believe, by Morgan Turner and Charlotte Holdcroft, but I have seen a bunch of people do this video. I did originally see Morgan Turner do it, and then a bunch of people have been doing this tag as well. Basically, if you haven't seen this tag, you pick one eyeshadow palette for each kind of event. So I did go through my collection already and pick out my palettes, and it was pretty difficult, especially for some of the categories, but let's just go ahead and get started. So the first category is for a wedding, and I did kind of take this as my wedding, but I mean, I guess this would also work for like if I was a guest at a wedding. I was the bridesmaid for my sister's wedding over a year ago, and I did use some of my single shadows, really just a bunch of neutral shades to do obviously a more natural glam look. But the palette that I chose for this is actually the Urban Decay Naked 3 palette, and the reason I chose this is just because it has a lot of these really soft tones in it, and I feel like it is very difficult to go overboard with this because also you do only have like two matte transition shades. So one is a little bit lighter and the other one is a tiny bit deeper. So I find that with this, my look never ends up too deep and it never ends up more intense than I want it to be, which is kind of good for, especially for a wedding when you have one chance to do your makeup, you don't want to mess it up. And I feel like especially with this palette, it's hard to go overboard just because the tones in here are so soft. Sorry, the sun just kind of disappeared, so the lighting just got really weird. But I do really like this palette for those, and now it's coming back, okay. For those really soft, romantic, pink and cooler toned looks. And I feel like this looks really pretty with my blue eyes, but I feel like it would also look really good on pretty much anyone, especially if you have brown eyes or even green eyes. So I feel like it would really suit everyone, and I just think this is a really good foolproof palette to wear for a wedding, if it's my wedding or if I'm a guest at a wedding. The next category or event is for a date night, and for that I chose the Milani Pure Passion palette, and I believe this is being discontinued, but you can probably still find these on sale either on the Milani website or maybe at like TJ Maxx and stores like that. But this is just a really pretty warm toned neutral everyday palette. So for date night I did choose this because I just love the way warm tones make my eyes pop, and I feel like with a palette like this, again, you're not going to end up with a look that is too intense. You can go for a more glam look with some of these deeper shades, but you can also get a really nice everyday like natural look. So for a date night, I think it's good to have that option to go a little bit lighter, but then you could also deepen it up if you want it to be a bit more smoky. The next event or category is a girls' night, and for this I chose the ABH Jackie Aina palette. And for girls' night, I kind of think of like having fun and like more glam makeup, so this is definitely a glam palette. But what I like about this is you can get so many different looks out of it. You have a few pops of colors with these pinks and purples and even this like red tone, but you can also get a more natural neutral look out of this as well. So depending on what kind of mood I'm in, I feel like I can get whatever I want out of this palette really, and it just has so much diversity. So I did choose this for a girls' night just because I feel like you can have so much fun with this palette because there's so many pretty colorful options, but there's also that neutral option as well. Now the next one is for vacation, and I was going to choose like one of my little 5-pan palettes specifically from Natasha Denona because vacation I feel like I want to travel as light as possible. So I was going to choose just that little 5-pan, but then I decided actually that's kind of like a boring palette. It really just had neutrals in it and it only had 5 shades in it. So I decided to go with the Alamar Cosmetics Reina del Caribe Volume 1 palette, and this is really like thin and sleek packaging, which I really love, and I feel like it's pretty sturdy for like cardboard. but it also has beautiful colors in here, and I feel like it has these pops of colors that you can play with, but I feel like you can also get a really natural look just with throwing one of these matte shades in your crease and then popping this like champagne pinky tone all over your lid. So it has that option to play with color, but it also can be very neutral if you just want a simple look. And is this packaging just not perfect for a vacation and give you those vacation vibes? I feel like this packaging is so stunning. Even though it's just cardboard, it feels pretty high-end. And I just think I would have so much fun playing with this on vacation. And sometimes on vacation, I feel like I'm gonna do all these glam looks, but then I end up doing like one eyeshadow. So I feel like if I really wanted to, I could get a glam look out of this, but I can also just use like this one champagne color and be done with my eyeshadow. So I like that it has that versatility in here. The next event is graduation, and for this I kind of thought as my graduation, and when I think of that, I feel like you want a pretty natural look, but maybe just a little more dressed up and a little bit more glam. So for that, I chose the ABH Soft Glam palette, and I feel like this just has all of the neutrals you need. You can get a really nice soft look with this, or you can also deepen it up with some of these deeper shades. So depending on how intense you want to go, you can get a really soft look with this. And I feel like when I think of graduation, I feel like this is the exact kind of look that I would want. Just some really pretty soft colors, not too out there or intense. And I feel like you can really get that with this, and you have really all of the neutral everyday shades you need with this. The next event is Christmas Day, and this was one I kind of struggled with the most because I feel like I just kind of use whatever palette I feel like using. I don't necessarily plan it off of the event that I'm going to. I mean, sometimes I do, obviously, with like your wedding and stuff, you choose a palette very carefully, but Christmas Day was kind of the one that I struggled with, and I didn't want to choose any discontinued palettes, but I ended up going with the Biddy and Colourpop palette. This is called the Candy Button Pressed Powder palette, and I feel like whenever I do a look with this, I just love the way it comes out, and it has some of these deeper, more warm tones. I guess there's also a couple more cool tones in here as well, but for the most part, it's pretty warm. And I feel like for Christmas Day, I always like a little bit of glitter on my lids. Really, for any event, I like glitter. So I do have these two glitter shade options in this palette, and I feel like especially for Christmas Day, I do like to go a little bit more glam, and usually I do like a really bold lip, but I figured since Christmas Day I tend to eat a lot, a bold lip doesn't go very well, so I do prefer to do a more intense bold eye look. So I feel like I could create a really pretty look with this, and I know whatever look I create with this is going to turn out really beautiful because I have really loved every look I've created with this. So for Christmas Day, I chose this palette, and you might not think of this really, but I don't know, something about this palette, like I don't even know why I purchased this initially in the first place, because I probably really didn't need it, and it wasn't something that really stood out to me, but I have ended up really loving it, and it's probably one of my favorite palettes in my collection that's probably like the most underrated. So I do really love this palette. Unfortunately, it is discontinued because Colourpop discontinues so many of their products, but this is the palette that I would choose for Christmas Day. The next event is for a birthday party, and I took this specifically as my birthday party. So especially on my birthday, I would want to use like a pretty special, let's say more high-end palette. So for this, I chose the Natasha Denona Sunrise palette, and this just feels so luxurious. Obviously, it is on the more pricey side. It is $65, but this is one of her smaller version palettes, and I really love all of the shades in here, and I feel like I can create a really pretty warm tone look. You can also create a really soft, everyday, natural look. So I have that option to go a little bit more intense and deeper if I wanted to, but I could also do a really simple, just soft look with some like these 6 shades right here. But yeah, I just really love this eyeshadow palette, and every time I use it, I really love the way it performs. It's a pretty easy, like I want to say foolproof, but this color story can be a bit brighter. So I feel like it is a more unique color story. And I feel like I have that option of playing with pops of color, but I can also go really neutral with this as well. And I feel like for my birthday, I would just want to use a special palette. And to me, this is a pretty special palette. It's probably one of the most expensive palettes, or the most expensive palette that I have in my collection. Now the next one is for The Office. And this was one I kind of went back and forth with because I feel like really any neutral everyday palette could work for this. But I specifically chose the Tartelette in Bloom palette. And this is what this looks like if you don't know. And basically, this, sorry for the reflection, it is very reflective. But basically, this just has a bunch of neutral tones in it. And I do really like this palette. Sorry, I'm trying to find where it doesn't reflect as much. But this is a very neutral palette. Obviously, it has some of these lighter, softer tones, but you can also get a pretty deep look out of this with some of these more deeper tones. And I feel like it has a, I mean, really this isn't very versatile at all. No matter what shades you use, you're gonna get a very neutral look with this. But that's kind of why I chose it for The Office, because I feel like this is kind of just foolproof and you can really easily create like a 5-second eyeshadow look with this palette just using even one of these shimmer shades or just like one matte shade. So that is why I chose this for The Office. And the next category is another one that I was kind of going back and forth on as well. And this is the palette for running errands or just like your everyday go-to palette. So for this, I chose the Marc Jacobs Scandalust little palette. And I was considering doing this for The Office category. But the reason I chose this for everyday is because I feel like for everyday, I would want these neutrals, but I would also want the option of playing almost with a little bit of color. So I like that it has this pop of berry, and really that's still a neutral color. It's not that out there and colorful, but I like that it has this so you can play around with that color for everyday if you wanted to. And you can still get a really easy, natural, everyday look with just like these 4 shades right here. So I do really love this palette, and I feel like it is very small and compact, but it also does have a lot of versatility within like the everyday sort of range. And another reason I chose this for everyday and not The Office is because if you compare it to the Tartelette in Bloom, the Tartelette in Bloom has, you could say the shades in the Tartelette palette are like a lot more muted and almost like softer. So that's why I chose this one for The Office, because I felt they were just a lot more muted and more neutral, sort of office appropriate. Whereas this for everyday, you can have some fun with this color, and I wouldn't necessarily want to wear that to the office. So that is why I ended up choosing this palette. Now, the last category is for New Year's. Now, I feel like a lot of people chose this palette for the New Year's category, but I really couldn't think of a better palette in my collection. It is the ABH Sultry palette, and we probably all know what this looks like by now, but it's just a really pretty cool tone, neutral palette. And I love the metallic shades in here. They are super unique and super intense and beautiful, especially this silver shade right here specifically for New Year's. And I like that it also has a black, so you can do a really smoky New Year's look if you wanted to. Or you can even go the more natural route and use some of these like neutral tones. But I definitely would choose this for New Year's because it has these really pretty, more cool tone and silver shades. So that is it for this video. I hope it was entertaining, and let me know down below in the comments what eyeshadow palettes you would choose for some of these categories, or if you did this video, let me know and I will definitely watch your version of it because I love watching these types of videos and seeing what everyone chooses. So if you did enjoy this, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I do post new videos 3 to 4 times a week. So if you want to see more from me, make sure to subscribe and don't forget to hit that bell icon to get notified every time I post. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.